Sounds good.
Awesome. We're back at it today on a podcast. The fellas, Travis, Sam, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Morning.
Starting to golf balls. Morning, guys. Do we have any preference on color and brand, or do you guys stick mostly to white? Because I started doing yellow, but maybe that's not as common when you guys are playing at your level. I'm just putting my things around the course, so
I'm thinking yellow is more so better for older guys, to be honest with you. Can't see as well. But it is nice and longer rough because you can actually see the ball a bit easier. The white ball kind of hides in the leaves in the fall for sure. But yeah, it's better for older eyesight, I would say.
Getting called out. And Travis, do you feel the same way about this?
Yeah, I gotta agree on that. We have a couple guys I play with, and they're 50 plus, and it's just the yellow ball, just that way they can see it always. So traditionalist always. So.
Hey, honestly, I used to play a yellow ball for a little bit though, so I mean,
yeah.
I kind of got over that hump, which is good, but
yeah, but you're colorblind.
Well, the thing is, I started doing it because everyone else, obviously, most groups are hitting whites, and I'm just like, hey, like I don't want to like. Sometimes we are hitting close, we're just making it obvious, like, hey, this one's mine versus theirs, and usually there's only one in the group. But I was out for a round last week at Granite Hills, and there was another guy in the group that pulled out a yellow ball or whatever, and I was like, two of us in the same group. But he was the guy, and then I'm now thinking he probably does it for sight, but I always find it amazing though too. I mean, like you guys, I'm excited to talk about your numbers and your stats, but I'll probably come at this from more of the general population, the average golfer. You know, like I'm trying to break 100 if I can get in the 80s. That's a wonderful day at the office for me. So to say, out on the links and the course. So we know. I always find it amazing, though. You mentioned like fall there, Sam, too, and just about how easy it can be to lose a ball, even though it should be right in front of you. And I think you guys might be a little bit more dialed in. But at the same time, when I do watch professional golfers hit the ball, sometimes it's like way out of sight line. And somehow you guys are tracking these things and knowing exactly where it's going. And it's more like throwing like darts at a board versus the general population here. Speak for a few folks, but you're just kind of like guessing, you're like, hey, I'm trying to hit it here, sprays a little bit, then you're not so sure, it hits a little bit of an angle, next thing you know, it's in the rough or in the woods, depending on the course, and then you're stuck looking for this thing and often losing them, unless you're using a yellow ball like the superior athletes over here.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like when you play a golf course, I mean, for example, like our home golf courses, like St. Charles and Niagara and Winnipeg, if they grow at the rough, it's very, very difficult to find golf balls. That has a big factor for it. I mean, if the rough's pretty thin, then it's a lot easier to find stuff. But when the rough is longer, there's no spotters down there. You know, and like PJ Tour events, there's thousands of people watching and whatnot, and it's pretty hard to lose golf balls out there with all them watching. But you know, for your normal weekend golfer, when it's having beers and you're hardly even watching the ball. It is much, much harder finding golf balls, especially when you don't know how far you're actually hitting the ball. But that's kind of like the easiest way for us to find balls is we know pretty much exactly how far the ball even went. So we have like a tighter window to like kind of look for the ball in instead of looking for the ball in like 120-yard square section of the golf course.
Exactly. That is basically what I do sometimes too. And I don't want to like keep knocking me here, but I think I speak for a lot of folks, and you're kind of like, okay, if you do hit it, straight as on hole it can be, great. You're hitting up with the whole group's kind of collected there. But if you spray it a little bit one way, you hook it, you slice it, depends what side of the ball you're on. Next thing you know, you're kind of going, I literally go like this. I'm like, this is the area I'm swathing right now. To kind of like search. So
I think it just comes from like Sam and I've been doing this, we're probably close to 40 years combined. So it's just the repetition of seeing the ball, like anybody's ball, we will know right away. It's like, okay, I hit my driver 250 yards. Oh, I hit it a little bit right. Then it's like you kind of just disperse that way in that sense. Because I mean, been in tournaments recently and people are like, how do you know where that ball went? Like it's coming so hot off the face, for example. You're like, your eyes are just trained to do that automatically, right? And majority of the time, it's you'll know the exact distance that it's going, and you're not just guessing, right?
You know what? I think this is a good point to kind of almost like take a step back and talk a little bit about where you guys have been. Travis, you're talking about how many balls you hit. Let's maybe do you first, just on order of my screen right now for the call. Travis, where have you played, and like where did you grow up playing? Where'd you play? I know a little quick summary here about the states and stuff like that, and then bring us back.
Basically, I started taking golf seriously when I was 16, so about 20 years now, and was that classic hockey guy that would just golf with his friends and didn't take it seriously, and then had an injury. And then my grandma, ironically, was like, hey, you've always been good at golf, like you should take it seriously. So ironically, I don't know if you guys ever took computer applications classes, but it was my least favorite subject in high school. Didn't like the teacher. And I started filling out like recruiting stuff as a joke, like saying like I was shooting 77, 78, occasionally shoot par. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, hi, this is so-and-so from Texas. Hi, this is so-and-so from Illinois, like through the recruiting process. And then, so both my parents are teachers. So next thing you know, it's like, oh, spring break, we're going down to Kansas, we're going down to Texas, and then end up getting a couple scholarship offers down there. And so I was in Kansas for about 3 years and Texas for another 2 years playing NAI and NCAA Division II. So was able to go to nationals down in Panama City, Florida, at a course called La Hombre. So it's a tough course when the names of the nines are the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah. And so then another nationals was actually pretty cool, was like TPC Deer Run, where they just had the John Deere Classic. So when Sam and I were together on Sunday, I was like, oh yeah, I was telling him the shots and everything, like kind of being there and kind of seeing that firsthand. So it's always cool when you cross-reference those courses. But I've been very fortunate to play a lot of very nice courses in the midst, playing from where Oklahoma State plays at Carson Creek, to playing Innisbrook where they host the Valspar, to Boston Country Club where they used to host the Dell Match Play where Tiger holed out from 70 yards, like for an eagle to win a hole, so a lot of legacy in that sense. But it's something, me and Sam, I'm sure you both can vouch for it. Everybody used to make fun of their friends for golfing at a young age, right? They're like, well, you're playing an old man sport. And now the amount of people that are getting into golf and are like,
totally,
it's like, oh, I should have done this a long time ago, like I'd be good now. And it's just a practice putting it in, right, at the end of the day. So
absolutely. What and that is a great background there, Travis. Thanks so much for sharing that. What would you guys say, I guess, like kind of hybriding like both in the dialogue here, like how many balls are you guys hitting a week, a day? Like I've heard some crazy stats about pro golfers and how much they're getting out and hitting. What do you guys, do you follow that same pattern, or what do you guys do for kind of training?
I typically I like spending probably about hour and a half, like pretty much every like two to 3 days, kind of like working on my stroke tempo. I have this little mat that I put down on the putting green. It's called like a putting arc essentially. It's got like a bunch of like lines on it and stuff, and kind of just work on tempo in that sense. I do about an hour and a half of that a week, and then um, a lot of just like honestly like green reading is like it's just so important in matching pace with the reads. So it takes a lot. I mean, I don't think there's really like a set hour that I try to like strive for each week. I think it's more so just getting as many reps as I can get out there and really just like not turning my brain off of golf. I think that's like the biggest thing for me. It's like constantly and consistently just like always getting out there, waking up and having some type of format for golf laid out for the day and just kind of just going for it. So it's a lot though. I mean I went like a couple of weeks playing like 36 every single day this summer, and I mean that's a lot. That's like minimum like pretty much 10-hour days out there, and
Yeah,
um Travis was a part of actually quite a lot of those, which is fun. Um but yeah, it takes a lot. I mean it's definitely a time consuming sport, and I think that's a bit of a turnoff for some people, but at the same time it's like it's a great way to like spend your time. So there's a good medium there.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, you're getting outside. Hopefully, it's sunny. Although it's not bad if it's a little overcast or you have a light sprinkle come down on those days too. And I think, I mean, that's just like the time dedication that you're out there too, right? It's like that rule of like a 10,000 hour thing. Sam, I think is what I
Exactly.
say there is just stand on top of it. You're going to get better the more time you put in.
Yeah.
You're really dedicated to it and have, things to follow there for training.
That's what the
Travis,
sun hat's for, baby.
oh yeah. I see
Wear
you
this bad boy out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to take care of the skin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Travis, how about yourself? What do you do for training on your end?
Typically probably play three, 4 times a week. Typically I allot myself, half an hour, 45 minutes before. Just been working with a swing coach here, Ryan McMillan. Kind of just fine tuning. Kind of had a 2-way miss last year, so kind of just was fine tuning that and just kind of have a comfortable shot shape. So for anybody that wants to get good at golf, it's one of those things where you got to put in the time. You can't just go out and play once a week. You got to have those range sessions allotted, even if it's, for example, in college, we had Mondays, they were dedicated to driving range, short game. That's all you're doing. You're working on your green speed because you're playing so many different courses. Every course is different. The greens might be rolling an 8 at one course, another course are rolling a 12. So it's just being able to adjust and adapt at that same time. And too many times I feel people just do the classic, trunk slam. It's like my tee time's at 5 o'clock after work. I get there at 4:58, run to the tee, grab a beer, and let's go. Instead of just put it, it's leaving a little bit earlier if you can and just putting in that time. It's an investment in yourself. It doesn't matter what career that you're in. It's like you have to put in that time. So I would say typically for myself, it's probably about an hour and a half to 3 hours on the range. Just depends tournament schedule too, obviously. And then short game, it's typically about 3 to 4 hours. I always put more time in short game because that's where you make your money.
It's a lot more fun too.
Yeah, way more fun. Like Sam and I were together on, I think it was Saturday. We spent like an hour and 45 minutes with 2 other buddies at St. Charles, just hitting different bunker shots, hitting different short game shots. And then if somebody was struggling, it was like, hey, try this. So having people that you can bounce ideas off of really do help too.
I think the biggest thing with practicing too is not just like doing the same thing over and over again. Like there's a time and place for that. It's like it's called block practice, where you just kind of like designate like half an hour of your schedule, go to the range, try to like create the same swing over and over again. Grind it out, make sure it's like almost mechanical feeling and or robotic feeling, sorry. And there's a time and place for that, but I get most of my better practice just by kind of, I don't know, I guess dispersing my practice and hitting all these different shots and making it creative and getting balls left to right or right to left and choosing very like specific start lines and kind of just dispersing it and making it as random as possible. And I think that's where you kind of get the most out of your practice time and not just wasting time hitting the same shot over and over again. So it's good to learn.
No, I think that's awesome. Very insightful too. And Sam, if I could throw it your way here to get a little bit of your background before we continue on down the path here. But what was your golfing journey like, and how'd you get into it, and then where are we at today?
So I started pretty much as soon as I was conceived. Was swinging a golf club in diapers still, and yeah, I mean my dad just gave me like a plastic golf club, and it was right-handed, and I was swinging it left-handed, and I stuck to the lefty gang, baby, come on. And yeah, I mean started when I was super young, started playing tournaments when I was probably 6 or 7 years old. And at that age I was just like loving it, like just great time. I mean, my dad obviously like put me into the sport, but it wasn't like something that he was like forcing me to do, that like now you see like a ton of parents doing, because golf is one of those sports where it's kind of picking up pace and momentum, and it's just a great sport to know how to do in terms of like even just like business and meeting people and everything. But yeah, so I started, competing when I was probably 6 years old. Like I, you know, continued on that path until I was probably 14, just playing as many tournaments as possible. Um, and then started, thinking about doing it as work and a profession, and kind of probably like got carried away in that aspect of things. But then I kind of realized that, okay, wait, I could actually make this work kind of by the end of high school. And really just right after high school, I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna do this as my job for work, and
Cool.
we're gonna pursue it and challenge myself. And if it was easy, everyone would freaking do it. I know that's a common saying, but I mean, it is one of those things where it's extremely enjoyable when you're out there and swinging the club by yourself. And it doesn't matter if you're with a group of four or just by yourself out there. It's peaceful, it's calming, and it's also very, very annoying and hard, but it's very rewarding at the end of the day. So yeah, and then a couple of years outside of high school, I decided to turn professional, and yeah, finally give it a kick in the give her the good old can kick, and yeah, here we are.
Awesome. That's a really cool story. You guys are both semi like different journeys here in terms of how you get into golf. But it's neat to see that you've grown, developed along the way, and it's just like the extreme focus and attention that you give to the sport is what I'm hearing you guys say here has led to the success. Question maybe for both of you, but Travis, you mentioned something before, and I just wrote it down here. If you saw my eyes going away, I didn't want to forget. But you were talking about greens. This is an area, a bit of a sore spot, I would say, on some courses for me. And we'll go back to the shout out to the average Joe here. But I mean, putting. Like sometimes I feel like I'm Happy Gilmore out there, and I'm just missing the hole on repeat. I'm three putting that I was on in one or two, right? Hopefully not on a par three, but because that one really stings. But you mentioned something about numbers, and I don't know this, but what is an 8 versus a 12? That's a speed thing, I'm assuming, with greens before?
Yeah, it's basically like the speed, or the proper tour term would be like the stimp of the greens. So basically, for example, if a green's rolling at an 8, typically a little bit slower, it could be various reasons. Would it be a very, for example, in Winnipeg, Pine Ridge can probably only run about a 9 or a 10 because of the slopes of the greens. Whereas somewhere like St. Charles, where Sam plays, they can get them up to 11, 12, and that's just the firmness of the course. So you have to be strategic in how you're hitting your approach shots into the green. And I mean, you have to just adjust and adapt so quick, and just take the more time reading the greens. And one thing that I always taught when I was younger, it's okay, your ball's in position A, the cup's position B, you're building railway tracks to the hole. It's not a straight line ever unless you're 2 or 3 feet. There's always going to be that subtlety break. So it's like, how are those railway tracks going to be built by you, Travis, to get that ball into the hole? And that's something that I've still stuck with to this day.
Yeah,
very interesting. I guess that kind of goes along with it. Just thought about it when you're answering the green question here. It makes a lot of sense, but I didn't know the whole number thing behind it. But when I last couple years, I have golfed in some other courses, not as frequent, but spent some time down in Florida, and actually golfed in Mexico, which is funny to realize I probably needed to update clubs because I was hitting better with these rentals than I was with my own clubs back home. I feel like technology it's not made my game that much better, but it has certainly helped a bit. But the thing that I noticed at those ones, you guys are probably super fluent in this, but just how much the soil types changed the entire of your golf game. Like up here, you have a little bit more like clay, and things are bouncing a little bit more. Down in Florida, it was sand. As soon as it hit the ground, it was not moving. It was stuck there. Same kind of thing in Mexico was my experience, but I'm sure it can vary. Are you guys super analyzing that kind of data? I'm sure that you are now that I'm saying it out loud. But for me, it was just kind of like a shock to the system. I'm like, oh, it doesn't go as far here. It's not getting that roll or that bounce that I'm used to at home. So it's a little bit of a shorter game almost, or you're playing it very differently in that sense of soil type, which who would have thunk?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it kind of depends on the golf course that you're playing at. Like sometimes a firmer golf course actually makes the course harder. Um, you for example, like the U.S. Open this year, um, very well. Typically, it's a very firm golf course. They got lucky this year, and it was soaking wet. But I guess better example would be like the British Open. British Open, super like firm golf courses all the time. Typically have long rough out there. They got the long fescue, and it's harder to keep balls in the fairway when the ball is running 80 yards down the fairway. Um, Sometimes. I mean, sometimes it's a huge advantage because you're a lot closer to the hole. But I mean, at the same time, like it's almost more important to just be in the fairway than it is to hit the ball as far as possible. So
Yeah.
it's definitely different in terms of like firmness. It's especially when like I'm traveling from event to event, like I'm seeing golf courses like right on the coast that are sea level. I mean, it's not only like course condition that you got to worry about, you got to worry about like elevation as well. So elevation plays a huge part in it all. I mean, this course this week I'm playing at, like it was like 136 feet above sea level. Winnipeg's about, I think it's 450, so it's much the same, which is nice. But I mean,
Yeah.
I've played in places where it's, a couple, couple thousand feet above sea level, and the ball's going very, very far. Like it's a whole like 15, 20 yards difference. Um, and that's like a huge component of everything as well. The softness and firmness, as much as like it makes a difference, it kind of doesn't. It just changes how you play the golf course. It's the carry in terms of like professional golf. I think carry numbers are like the most important out of anything, to be honest with you, and just knowing exactly how far the ball is actually going to go.
Okay, I started seeing, this is the dumb reference now, but these guys, they're like a spoof online. Maybe you guys have even seen this because I'm sure it's high on your algorithm for golf stuff. But these guys go up to guys at golf, like town or wherever they're at, some golf store. And they're like, "How far do you think you can drive?" And these guys are really inflating their numbers. They're like, "Oh yeah, like 270, whatever." And they're like, "Okay, if you can hit that, you got the driver, basically, you got the thing." So they're kind of calling them out on it. It was just funny to like see that because I don't think I'd want to lie about that personally. But I think maybe some guys want to be there, but maybe they're not quite there and stuff. And then just before we got on here, though, I was looking up some average numbers for average folks, but for both like handicap strokes, average driving distance for, we'll do men specifically because there's three of us in the call here, but the average man can hit it 215 to 235 yard wise.
Yep.
Scratch golfers and low single digit handicaps often drive 260 to 280 yards or more. Just for reference, because I'm always curious. Like I'm always down with this, even at like the Olympic level or running or whatever. I've always wanted to see like an average person, like who's in okay shape or whatever, just like run beside them so we know like how fast they are. Related reference, but for you guys, what are some numbers on like a drive? I know we said that's not the most important thing based on what we talked about short game, but for reference here, like I'm hitting usually like I guess right in this range. That is like exactly I am average driving distance 101. Well, what are you guys doing? Because it's when I look at the other tee spots, I'm hitting from whites, and you guys are probably hitting from black. I'm assuming blacks or blues or whatever they're colored as, like the probably the further one back if you're doing pro, right? Or what would they be? What would you be hitting? Blacks all the way back?
Yeah, typically it's black or gold. Typically would be the ones that are furthest back on those courses, typically.
And I've gone up there to look. It looks like a completely different game from where I'm at the whites though. And I'm like looking, when I go back and like do the odd course, they're a little bit closer or it's quicker to get up there to like a different height or whatever. It's like, holy crap, I would just be hitting the fairway from back at that one. Meanwhile, I'm hitting from whites and it looks like pretty okay, generally speaking. But you guys are probably hitting right to the same kind of spots I am, but from back at no man's land there, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, pretty much it's I'm playing tournaments pretty much from like the back tees, but like the furthest spot on the back tees. So it's like just maximizing the entire length of the golf course pretty much and trying to make it longer and longer. I mean, it's kind of weird right now with golf because guys are hitting it so far. They keep on trying to make golf courses longer and tougher in that sense. But it actually makes it easier for guys who hit it longer by making the golf course further because the guys who hit it shorter are coming in with a lot longer clubs and hitting hybrids and 3 woods into greens. And I'm still hitting like a 7 iron or 6 iron even. So it's actually like making it easier by making the golf courses longer, which is kind of weird to say, but I mean, typically like me and Trav will always play from the back tees, and I mean we like to push ourselves and compete anyways, so that's what we're
Yeah.
gonna do regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, in a give you a sense about how far we hit it, I guess like I'm pretty much flying the ball, you know, in Winnipeg, I'm flying it about 305, 308 kind of thing, and it's rolling about 330.
Yeah.
That's pretty normal. I can get it out there further than that, but that's kind of the standard drive for myself.
Very cool.
Travis isn't too far behind me, but
Yeah,
What do you
I would
think,
say
one right
majority.
behind you?
No, I'm the guy that hits a lot of fairways. So
exactly.
typically for me, I'm about carrying about 270, probably rolling it about 300, I would say. But the biggest thing is just making sure that you're in play. I mean, Sam and I, when we played on Sunday, like at Niagara, there's a hole. It was like 357, and Sam had like a 10-yard chip,
Yeah,
sort of thing like that. Like just when he gets a hold of it, it freaking goes, and Sam hits the obviously because his carry is so much more. He with these pro events, he knows his carry yardage so much more, and for me, it's like I know I can't chase that. Like I'm just going to hit my ball, give me a comfortable number in, and hopefully make a putt. And that's the biggest That's the biggest thing with tour guys, right? You got a guy like Bryson that just pounds the ball. And he's going to have a pitching wedge, sand wedge in, and then you got a guy, like Aaron Rye, for example, who hits the ball maybe 300, but Aaron Rye is like number 1 and 2 are in greens regulation. Right, and there's so many different factors into it, right? As the old saying goes, right? Drive for show, putt for dough. So that's what you gotta do, and I mean, it's very very lucrative in that sense. And I mean, Sam and I have some close battles and whatnot. Always comes down to the last hole.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's exciting. That's it's like your own little tour, because I know like you're watching the golf events, and sometimes I also find them kind of slower until you're getting right to the end where you're like, okay, you're counting down. I'm usually not there dedicated the first 2 days, but if it's like a 3-day TV whatever thing, whole weekend of golf, then you get to the finals, and then you're really like, okay, now it's getting more intense as it's going, right? And it usually does come down to the last hole, even in those tournaments. It's like
exactly.
Going at it. That's really cool to hear for you guys. Travis, are you a righty?
Yeah, I'm a righty. Yeah.
We're ready as well. Sam, you're lefty. Are there advantages to being one over the other in general in golf courses? Are they set up more one way?
It's actually not so much. Well, I guess there's like different golf courses that set up better for righties or lefties, and honestly, like if someone, I can't remember who said this, but someone was doing like a statistics thing about like why like some golfers are better like swinging it righty or lefty, and I guess it has to come down to like if you're left hand dominant or left arm dominant, it's better to actually swing the golf club righty. And if you're right arm dominant, then it's actually better to swing the golf club lefty, because like you're pulling down with your dominant arm, I guess. So you can actually like you can generate a bit more power that way and everything. So it's kind of an interesting take. I really didn't think about it that way, but it actually makes a little bit of sense. So, I mean, obviously you want more power and you want to hit the ball further. So it makes sense to have your dominant arm kind of like leading that transition and getting explosive with your swing. So yeah, it's kind of interesting in that sense, but
yeah, I mean, this is coming from not as many rounds as you guys have, but I'm just thinking about it. I'm like, some courses do seem like they're set up maybe more for me being the righty. If I've been with a guy who's a lefty on the course, just in terms of, we'll say what it is here, not being that strategic, but knowing that I slice a little bit. And if we got a few more dogleg rights, I'm taking advantage of that in my little game of golf versus someone who's left. I mean, I don't know, I guess they could easily aim it a little bit better that way if they're more skilled in that sense and hit it over that corner. But it seems like there's some natural flow in some ways, but I'm also always thinking of it from my end of the ball, not necessarily considering what the other side might be seeing as well. So yeah,
there's a few holes out there on golf courses where it's like there'll be trees like 50 yards off the tee box, and it's kind of like a little like chute that you got to hit down.
Yeah.
And I mean, if it's like a dogleg left and you're a right-hander and you're shaping it left to right, oh man, I've seen some guys just struggle and panic on those tee shots so much because they just
Yeah.
can't shape the ball right to left and get it around even like the trees 50 yards in front of you. Oh man, it's hard to watch that, but it's a problem that a lot of golfers struggle with. You got to be able to shape the ball both ways, and it's not something that everyone can do, and it's not easy to do, but it's hard when it doesn't go in your way.
Yeah,
Oh, I bet it would.
I think like one of the things too, like Sam just alluded to, is having a simple shot shape that you can hit. I mean, my tournament last week, there's one hole at St. Charles. It's a 7th hole, trees 35 yards in front of you, and I hit a cut with my driver. This one calls for a draw. So instantly I'm like, oh man, like I can't hit driver here. And it's a par 5. If you hit the driver good, you're fine. But so I was like, okay, well, what club can I hit that right to left shot with? Right. Just to put myself in play in that sense, opposed to hitting a tree and then being like, oh man, okay, now I'm 400 yards out on a 560-yard par 5. So it's just being comfortable with yourself, even if it's a fairway wood or a hybrid, just you have that shot shape that you can hit, opposed to just, all right, well, I'm going to try and just thread the needle through these trees, and you catch the wrong branch and you're like, crap.
Yeah.
What hole did you say that was, Travis?
It's hole 7, south at St. Charles.
Okay, I don't know if this is the same one because I think they got a few sets of 9 there. But actually, I just quickly looked this up. It says hole number 7 on the Ross 9 is the hardest one there. Is that the same hole you're talking about?
Yeah, it's definitely like the most demanding off the tee shot for sure, and that's the one we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I just quickly the bio I just pulled up here. I'm my own research expert. I don't have a Jamie like Joe there. So that's interesting. You said I'm just like quickly. I'm like, what's the hardest hole there? And then that's the one that you're chatting about. On the side of clubs and stuff there, and this might be like a silly one. And I have like, depending on the game, on my end of things, I got a couple favorite clubs that I hit really well or can hit really well. Do you guys have a favorite club or a couple clubs that you favor towards for maybe certain distances, or you just continually have a lot of success with out on the course? Or is it just doesn't matter because we hit so many kind of thing?
I think my favorite shot to hit right now is probably like a 60 or 70 yard little like lob wedge, like 60 degree. It's kind of like a nice like flighted shot that I like to hit, and it looks sexy when it lands on the green because it comes in low and it like bounces about 5 feet and then just like checks instantly and stops super fast. So it's kind of more like a flashy shot that I like to hit there, but that's probably like one of my more favorite shots to hit right now. But I mean, everyone's favorite shot is hitting driver, so I got to go with driver as well. It's just funny. It's like the longest shot in the bag, and then like one of the shorter shots in the bag. Those are my 2 kind of favorites. But
nice.
I'd probably say for me, like I love being anywhere from 120 to 140 yards. It's kind of my sweet spot, and typically it's either like a pitching wedge or gap wedge. And it's funny, like I'll hit a draw, a little low draw, just sling it in there, and then it just kind of lands, like Sam said, in one spot and just kind of rolls towards the hole, sort of thing like that. So it's, I mean, it may look cool, you know, if you have the shot tracer on it, but when you say, oh, I feel like a tour pro there, but then, you know, when you miss it from the middle of fairway, you feel like, you know, you're learning how to golf again.
Exactly.
Well, I love how you guys are describing these. You're just like, oh yeah, you just like, you know, hit these and then they just like, you know, roll towards the hole. I think that part right there cost me a bit. I'm like, no, guys, sometimes it rolls away from the hole. For me anyway, in those same kind of whatever, like pitching wedge kind of thing in, or maybe a little bit of a lob, and then it's I either get too much of it or not enough, and it's rolling back off the green or maybe off the back. That's really hear your favorite. I know for me, sometimes, I mean, driver is sweet when it does its thing properly, in my opinion, but then like 5 woods for me on some longer holes, I can hit like those really well off the as fairway or even out of rough like that. It seems to be a good one for me lately. Not putting though, definitely not putting lately. I think we might even have to switch up the putter. That's where I'm at now. It's like we've
don't even get me started on putting right now.
Has it been a sore spot recently?
It's a sensitive topic.
Oh man, well, I feel for you. I'm going through it, and it's just a fun round kind of thing. But yeah, lots
Yeah.
of opportunities for a very different
Follow,
score for me ultimately. Like it's like yeah, it's silly,
if you
but
follow
it's
Sam on
fun.
Instagram for his tour events earlier in the year, you would see, oh, ping putter for sale. Oh, nope, just kidding, not for sale.
Yeah. I had this sick putter. The brand is actually called Sick. I had it for probably about a year and a half. Got fitted for in Florida for it, and brought it back up north, and it lasted a good little duration here. But yeah, a year and a half later, I'm literally posting ads of it on Instagram. I'm like posting a video of me missing a putt. Okay, $400 got knocked down to 350. Okay, 250 by the end of the round. Like
Oh
I
my
just got to
gosh,
get this thing out of my hands at this point. But honestly, changing equipment does make a huge difference. So yeah, I got this Ping PLD now and it seems to be rolling a bit better, which is good. So, but yeah, it's putting. It's hard.
definitely is. What's I mean, you guys are looking at greens a lot more than anything that I do, but I do know I need to spend more time out. Even like you were saying, Travis, like to the effect of not just showing up right on time there. It's something I don't try to
Yeah.
do, but sometimes life doesn't allow that extra couple minutes. And I would sooner now spend it putting, getting a feel for the greens than I would go and feeling out the driver I'm more comfy with. To even taking it on my end of things, like for the first hole for me, it's like, don't embarrass yourself, Steve-O. Just do like a half swing, nice and easy. We'll go through it here and it'll get straight. And then we can worry about, cranking it on the next holes or trying to put a little bit more oomph into it. But the putting, I think, is definitely the area where it could be, seeing a little bit more, work for sure. It's probably most people though. I bet you the average golf. I mean, on here it's saying like average golfer is also hitting like 30 something putts in a round. What are you
For
guys hitting?
sure.
How many are you guys doing out there then? Yeah, 34 to 36 putts per round is average golfer status.
Yeah. Go ahead, Trev.
I think for
How many?
me, average would be, sweet spot would be 26 to 30. I mean, that just comes from the short game practice too. You're getting up and down for those pars, or if you're close to a par five for birdie, and just getting the green speeds down ultimately. So I would say 26 to 30 is typically average putts per round. But I mean, there are the anomaly rounds where you might have 34, 35, and you're putting like you forgot. Just the nature of the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, I'd probably say probably much the same ballpark as that. I mean, if I have 26 putts in a round, like it's probably because like I missed a few more greens than normal that day. So, you get your wedge in your hand, chipping around the greens, and typically you put it to hopefully a foot every time, which is great. But, sometimes you got to make those 5 to 6 footers, and that's kind of where like the discrepancy in numbers comes from. Because guys can have 24 putts in a round, but they could also, just be chipping the entire day. So typically, I mean, I would say like a good ball striking day, good putting day. I'm hoping anywhere towards like around like 30 putts would be like a good number for me. Um, I typically miss probably like on average three greens around, like greens in regulation. Um,
Yeah.
three to four, I guess, would be like an appropriate number. Um, but yeah, I mean, on those days where you're not hitting the ball very well, like it's very important to chip it close and make those 4 to 5 footers every single time. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many different components to golf, man. That's why it makes it so interesting and so challenging at the same time.
But I think something outside of just, the strike the ball well and sinking on putts that we haven't really covered is like, how do you get refocused after maybe a bad hole and you're moving on to the next one and you're playing in a round that is competitive? How do you manage, psychology on that end of things? So I think it's something that is probably one of the most important things about golf is like not beating yourself up. Or if you do have, self-talk out there, what does that sound like in your own head? Or how do you overcome, a shot that didn't quite go your way?
So I actually work with a sports psychologist down in Florida. His name's Paul Dooland. Great dude, Canadian. Moved down there for work, but he's a solid guy. Been working with him for about 3 to 4 years now. Um, working all kinds of the game, like, outside of the golf, mostly in golf, but a lot of outside as well. And it's really just coming down to, trusting your work that you put in before the events. Um,
Yeah.
having your schedule that you follow, your routine that you follow, and just really just focusing on that and not really caring about anything else that happens, just trusting your work, putting everything behind you. You hit a great shot. It's like, well, it wasn't luck. This didn't happen overnight. It happens in the months prior of dedicating yourself to your work and your craft and making sure you can repeatedly do it, not just one. It's not just like a one-off. Um, so yeah, it takes a lot of time, takes a lot of focus. And even when you do struggle out there, like it's very, very important, almost more important to just kind of put on the blinders and just re-lock in. Just
Yeah.
remember that you actually know how to hit the golf ball instead of feeling like you can't hit the golf ball or can't even do anything out there. So it's easy to do. It's hard to do. It's easy to lose focus though.
Yeah.
I would say like one of the biggest things that kind of has been instilled in my mind is when I was younger, getting more into golf, more competitive, was when you do have a bad hole, it's giving yourself that time between, that second and third shot. It's like, hey, you have a 45-second walk. It's take that time to recompose yourself and think about, okay, when I am playing my best golf, what are the things that I'm doing? And having that like methodology behind it. And like Sam said, you've been doing this for 20 years. It's, what you're capable of. But sometimes you don't execute that next shot, then you're like, oh man, like I know I can do this. So then it's just a snowball effect. But it's always giving yourself that time, even just walk off to the side and just kind of have that minute alone, just to kind of reset almost. And one thing I always say to myself is, you gotta have a memory of a goldfish. Like you just gotta move on from it. Like you're playing with buddies, you're having fun, it's a beautiful day. We're not pros like Sam, this is just something that we do for a hobby, right? You have to think about that side of things, right? Are you going to a nice home? You're going home to your wife or girlfriend or whomever, right? It's that mindset and not holding yourself to that high standard, especially if you're just getting into it, where Sam and myself, it's like, we know we can do this. How are we going to execute that next shot? And even just when you have a caddy or somebody there, that just keeps your mind sharp and honestly keeps your mind off of golf. Like when Sam was caddying for me, we barely talked about golf. We just spoke about everything else about it, just to make you feel like you're not golfing. And when you play your best rounds of golf, like that's when you're not even thinking, you're just doing it.
Right.
It's actually interesting too. Like when I play practice rounds at golf courses, like if I hit a bad shot, like I will instantly drop a ball or two and just like make sure I like hit the proper shot and like put it in my head that like, okay, like I can actually hit this tee shot properly, instead of like, hitting a bad shot and then just like stepping up in the tournament with like that shot fresh in my brain. And it's like, huh, I hit this one super bad last time. Let's not do that again. And then it's like, oh wait, I just hit a bad shot because I'm thinking that. So
Right.
it's weird how like when you play a golf course a lot of times and you like the amount of times that you actually hit it in the exact same spot over and over again, like it is wild. Like
Yeah.
me and Travis just played in like I just caddied for him in this event, and he hit a not so great shot and shanked it literally off the tee shot with like a wedge in his hand, and it went like 40 yards in front of the tee box, hit trees, and came back into play. And then literally the next time we played that same exact golf hole, he was flushing it all day, like playing really good.
Yeah.
Stepped up on that same tee shot and did the exact same thing, like a one in like 10,000 kind of shot, and just did it on the exact same tee box, same shot. And it was just like, it's so funny how like golf is just such a creature of habit kind of sport. It's so weird.
Yeah, no, it's neat. I mean, I don't wish that anyone I'm golfing with hits a bad shot. If anything, I'm more like, let's see some awesome shots. In fact, I also want to see someone get a hole in one. That's like my main goal right now. I don't even care if it's me,
Yeah.
but I'm trying to go for that. But I want someone else to get it while we're out there. I think that'd be a cool experience as a whole. But it's somewhat, like I said, like refreshing to hear that it's not like no one's immune to it. Everyone can have a bad shot, right? That's what I'm kind of going with that, I guess. Yeah. Have you guys sunk an ace yet? Have we done that? You guys hit a hole in one?
I have not. My father has 2 though, so he's holding that over my head for sure right now.
Yeah.
Like I got 2.
You had 2? Nice.
Yeah. I got 1 last year and I got 1, I guess 6 years ago. So
that's really cool. Yeah, I think amongst anything else, I mean, it's just like that is something it would be cool to improve in a certain area, like, or probably more like putting my short game for sure. But if there's one thing that I would be seeking long term, it would be, hey, let's get that one. And recently, actually, it was a couple of golf games in a row for me, really close, and one of them was looking like right on line, but it was short. I think it was about like 15 yards or something like that. So as you got closer to the hole, you're like, okay, never mind. This par 3 is not looking so sexy, but from back there, I was looking like maybe. And because I don't know, you be dialed in, right, for knowing what club is going to go what distance. It seemed like a bit of a wild card. In that sense of knowing that distance, right? But well, one day, Sam, you'll get it. You're hitting enough balls. There's no way.
I know. I'm not forcing it anymore.
That's my new goal now. I'll be chasing you down. And Travis, that's super cool to hear. Maybe we'll actually wrap up with that. It's kind of a cool maybe story to hear. But what were those aces like to get for you? What was that feeling like?
It was actually funny. My first one was at Southwood on the 11th hole. It was like 192 yards, and me and my friend almost stopped because the people in front of us were so slow. So we went and grabbed a cart, played through these people, it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock, and just hit a 6-iron. The pin was front and came off a slope, and I didn't see it go in. But
yeah.
But my friend saw it go in, so he quickly hits a shot, hooks it right into the water, and he's just videotaping it the whole time. And all of a sudden it erupted, and they're like, oh my gosh, it went in. And it was just like, it's like a sigh of relief. It took me 16 years to get my first one. And
that's cool.
Then it's funny, I've never seen any of my balls go in for a hole in one.
that is pretty interesting.
My second one was last year. It was hole 12 at Niagara. It was a front left pin, hit a little cut 6-iron, 182 yards. Divot landed. Divot was 5 feet from the hole and then just rolled in. So that was the other one. Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool that you have an ace on 11 at Southwood. That's such a hard hole.
Yeah, I'm imagining. I played that. And it's like it is very sloped. When you're saying that, I'm imagining that's a tricky one. You can totally see it happen, like in it right position, it would roll, hopefully towards that way. But that's too where it can easily roll into the water too if you hit it too far, and it could roll back on you. Yeah,
100%.
So, very cool. How did you celebrate those, Travis?
Oh gosh, I think the first one.
Did those turn into like party days after that? Was that kind of fun?
It was a big party day. One of my buddies was bartending at a restaurant downtown and covered my tab there, and then went to Osborne, went downtown, did some drinks there, then went back to one of mine, Sam's buddy's house, and stayed up till I think like 4 a.m. just celebrating. And then the next one, we're in a league. There's like 16 of us at Niagara. And thankfully they have like hole-in-one insurance, so we pay like $10 or $15 a month. So that basically like the course covers the bill. The bill for your group at least. So thankfully I haven't had to fork out, the thousands of dollars typically is what it is. But and then so it's always nice. Like I've got like flags that say Travis Bobychuk hole-in-one, this whole yardage club from the courses, and then your name's on a plaque and everything else too. So it's kind of like a memento. Every time you see it, you're like, okay, I'll do it again. It hasn't happened yet.
Very cool. Because there is a common, we'll say, like courtesy or tradition, we were going to call it, that you would buy around for like the entire golf course, if not stay around and grab the bar tab for like the day or something, right? Or what is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of courses typically like make you buy like the entire, literally like the entire tab for the entire everyone. So
yeah,
it gets expensive if there's a lot of people there.
Yeah, it definitely could. That's what I was thinking of. I'm like, I know it's, I mean, not to just call it like a partying thing, but I know it's kind of a tradition, and like if it happens, like part of me would be pumped to do it if it ever did happen, but the other half would be like, holy shit. That might. So it's pretty funny.
Don't know if you can business expense that.
Yeah,
no.
That one might be fun. Yeah. Man, guys, this has been awesome to have you on, hear about your golf journey, and to wrap up with, we'll say the icing on the cake. And Sam, I'm wishing you nothing but the best for getting you be the next one to have an ace in the group here out of the conversation. And
thanks, buddy.
Catching up with you guys again here locally in the near future. And thanks so much for taking time to be on the episode today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having us out.
No problem, guys. Chat soon.
All right.
You too.